Hey everybody, today we are going to check out the MT200 stencil machine. I was sent this machine to do a review on it, but even though I was sent this machine, I will be giving you my fully honest opinion, the good, the bad, and the ugly as always. If you do want to check the product page out online, I will leave a link in the video description to where you can buy it. I will be comparing my experience that I have with this machine at times with the stencil machine that I've been using for the last, I don't know, however many years. This is the Thermal Imager by Panica or Panica. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce the name, but this is the stencil machine I use. Now, I understand that this may not be the most fair comparison, especially because of the price and the quality difference, but in any shop that I've ever worked at, we've always used this style of thermal printer. So it really is the only experience that I've ever had with a stencil machine. So that's why I'm going to compare them. Starting off with the price, the MT200 stencil machine is a budget-friendly machine coming in at $185. Compared to the $1,000 that I had to spend on my machine, the price tag of this one is definitely an attractive trait. But the question is, will the performance be worth the savings? In the box, you get the MT200, pile of stencil paper, some directions, and the power cable. The machine does feel cheaply made with an all plastic body. Looking inside the door that opens up at the top of the machine, you can also see that the gears that turn inside are also made of all plastic. The directions that come with the machine, I had to read them multiple times trying to figure out how to operate the machine, and eventually I just had to look up on YouTube how to make the machine function because the directions are so vague and confusing. They talk about a universal and a professional advanced version, methods of feeding the paper through the machine, and every way that I tried based off of the photos that are on the directions, it did not work. So let me show you how to feed the paper through the machine to make it work. So obviously you need stencil paper first, and we remove the onion paper. Get rid of that. So we just got our white, our purple, and our yellow. So I'm going to pop open this door on the top. Then I'm going to take the yellow side, flip the whole thing upside down, and shove the yellow through here. Now I pull it all the way through and let the crease kind of just line up with the edge of where the door would close. Now you do have to make sure that this is totally straight because the stencil machine will jam. Once you have everything all straight, you just click this door shut and you should hear that little sound. Now I'm gonna flip this yellow paper backwards, take my stencil, turn it upside down, and feed it through this little hole right here. You'll hear the stencil machine grab a hold of it like that. And now you can pick between deepness 1 or deepness 2. I would recommend deepness 2, and then you press copy. Now I hold it up like this because I don't want anything to get jammed because it has happened to me before. As you can see there, the stencil is starting to appear. And then we just pop this door back open. There you go, there is your stencil. It did do a good job of making exact lines, but one thing I will say is the difference between the stencil paper they send you and the stencil paper that I use all the time and the majority of people use, this is the Spirit brand. Make sure you're using quality stencil paper. You can see how much darker the Spirit brand paper is when it comes to the stencil, which makes a big difference when you actually transfer it onto your client. So you can see Spirit is much more of a deeper purple than this cheap stencil paper. So if you're going to be using this machine, definitely get a quality stencil paper. So as you can see, the machine does work and it makes nice stencils, but I have some complaints. As you can see here, I have a million scraps of stencil paper that I use for smaller tattoos. I acquire them because a lot of the time I don't use a full sheet of stencil paper and I end up saving part of it. Now, the problem with the MT200 is I cannot use these scraps. I'd have to throw them away and they would go to waste because of the way that the paper is fed through the machine. Unlike the stencil machine that I've been using, what you can do is take a little small stencil, throw it in here, and then you put it in the plastic sleeve and you run it through the machine. On the MT200, you have to feed through an entire page for just a small tattoo, which leads me to my next problem. When I print out my stencils, I cut them out like this, so then that way I can place them on my client and see if they're gonna fit the area that we're gonna put them on. When you do this, the way the MT200 grabs the paper before copying it, when it's complete, you end up with a stencil that's not totally there. The top and the bottom of the image will be missing. No matter how many times I've tried to put this in different ways into this machine, I always ended up with this problem, which means I have to print out 2 copies of each stencil. One to cut out to see if it fits on my client, and the other to fit on a whole sheet of paper so then that way I can run the whole thing through the machine, which leads to a lot of wasted paper, stencil paper, and ink, which means wasted money. Okay, I've done a lot of complaining so far, but I do think that this stencil machine can have a couple different uses. If you're traveling to a convention, this machine is light and compact, so you can just throw it in your bag and travel with it. Now, I can't promise that it's going to survive the trip because the whole body is made out of plastic, but I am trying to look on the bright side. Also, if you want to keep one of these at your shop just as a backup in case the good stencil machine breaks, this is a cheap alternative to have some peace of mind knowing that you will always have a stencil machine on hand. At the end of the day, the M200 does make strong stencils, but would I trust it to be the only stencil machine I have at my shop? Definitely not. But like I said, it does have its place for its price. I really do hate saying negative things about products, but I do have to keep these reviews honest. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. If not, I hope this video was helpful to you, and I hope that you have a good day.